Just wanted to start a new series on this channel. It's going to be called Old vs New, where I compare the assets of relatively old or retired fighters with the current stars in the sport today. So today on this series, we're going to compare the body punching ability of ERROL Spence with obviously Ricky Hatton. So in recent years, obviously ERROL Spence has come into prominence when he was a medalist in the Olympics. He was on an Olympic team for the US, and he did obviously recently win a world title off Kell Brook, and he's going to fight Lamont Peterson next. But it must be said, one reason why he's been so touted is because of his body punching ability. A lot of fans have obviously he's been a breath of fresh air for a lot of fans within the sport who have actually missed that aspect of the game. There's not been that many body punchers in the sport recently, in recent years, apart from I can think of a few like Canelo, maybe Chris Eubank Jr. at times, and also Golovkin. But generally speaking, body punching is an aspect of the sport that has historically been overlooked in the sport. There's not been that many. Body punching is not as obviously aesthetically pleasing to the eye to most casual fans compared to obviously normal head punching, but it is in a very effective way to actually close the distance on your opponent, sap his stamina, and also as the fight wears on, you can break your opponent down periodically. So obviously these two fighters, obviously ERROL Spence and obviously Ricky Hatton, are two fighters that do employ this strategy of consistent pressure to the body, but they both do it in different ways. One thing must be said, obviously ERROL Spence being a southpaw, he obviously has a different angle when he does actually choose to actually body punch compared to Ricky Hatton. Now obviously my thoughts on Ricky Hatton is that in my opinion he was a little bit overrated, but with him, and I'm sure I'm going to upset a lot of Ricky Hatton fans when I say that, but with him being overrated, one thing I can't deny about him was that he was an overachiever in this sport. He did accomplish a lot in this sport that is way beyond the realm of his ability in some sense. He's accomplished a lot more than someone with his ability would have done. He's similar to a Carl Froch in that sense. He's reached an elite world title level. He's won multiple world titles in different weight classes. He's fought the best of the best. He's obviously lost a few times to the best of the best, but there's no shame in that. But what must be said, one reason why I think Ricky Hatton was actually pushed by the HBO machine was the fact that he did make the sport, like HBO in particular, a lot of money. Whenever he used to fight overseas on his Las Vegas shows, he used to bring obviously 20,000 UK fans over with him, and obviously that generates money, that generates publicity, that generates obviously hype, and obviously them fans, they've probably made HBO and obviously just generally the city of Vegas a lot of money. So he was good for the sport, not just for from the perspective of being a UK boxing fan, but also from the perspective of the amount of money that he's generated for a lot of people within the sport and the amount of hype that he's brought along with it. Now obviously before he fought Floyd Mayweather, he was an undefeated fighter. That's another reason such a legacy has been attached to obviously ERROL Spence. Obviously the infamous sparring session that he had with Floyd Mayweather where he gave him a black eye, that, and obviously his other numerous sparring sessions with Adrian Broner, it's allowed him to actually build upon his actual resume. And although it wasn't an actual fight, it did develop a notoriety for him. The fact that he didn't actually care about the mainstream profile of the people he was sparring. If he's going to put it on you, he's going to put it on you. But it must be said, just speaking from a technical standpoint, I think ERROL Spence and Ricky Hatton apply different types of pressure. So with ERROL Spence, he does apply relentless pressure to the body, but he breaks you down periodically. So he's more jab orientated, okay? So he would pick you off with his southpaw jab, and then he would come and he would change levels and he would try to hit you on the body, but then he would switch it up to the head. But his punches seem a lot more straight. His punches to the body, although he does double it up, they seem to be more concealed. So he would throw punches to the head, but he would actually switch it to the body a lot more slicker than I think Hatton used to. With Hatton, and obviously ERROL Spence was a lot more subtle with his body work than Hatton was. With Hatton, he was very good at body punching, but his body punching ability was a lot more direct. he would come straight out the gate towards his opponent's body, and he would literally launch a relentless attack on the body from the opening bell. With Errol Spence, he would actually give a attack on the body, but it will be more calculated. It will be more centered around his jab, and he would break down an opponent from his jab, as opposed to going to the body straight away the way Hatton would do. Also with Hatton, he would actually use his footwork more when it comes to body punching. So he would switch the angle. He would try to hit the pit of the stomach, like he would love to say. So he would obviously shift and pivot off his front foot and then switch to the side and try to hit a body shot there. Obviously with that particular style, he was very mauling as well. He would come straight forward. He would have head movement, but he would come in straight lines. He would come in straight lines when it comes to attacking the body, but when he was attacking the body, he would switch his angle and try to get a shot in the solar plex and obviously the liver area. He would try to throw shots there. He would break down his opponents by obviously relentless pressure, but he would actually constantly throw body shots to just bring down the guard of his opponent. But then he would switch it up to the head, and for a round or so, a round would not pass where he would not throw one, at least attempt to throw one significant body shot. With Errol Spence, he's more scientific in the sense that he will only throw a shot to the body when it's 100% sure that it would land. With Hatton, he's a bit more excitable. He'll come forward, but you know what you're getting with Hatton. The fact that he's going to maul you, he's going to constantly be in your face. If you throw a jab, he's going to slip it to the side and throw a punch to the body. He would constantly be relentless in his body attack, but he would also be intelligent in the way that he would switch the angle. He was very mauling. While with Errol Spence likes to keep his opponents at a certain distance when he's throwing his body shots. So he's more of a mid-range fighter, while Ricky Hatton was more of an inside fighter. Now, obviously, we're basing two fighters who are completely different stages in their career. Obviously, with Hatton, we got the luxury of hindsight. We could look back in time and look at his fights and see the way he boxed and have that perspective. With Errol Spence, I don't think he's fulfilled his full potential yet. He could go on to add more nuances to his game, but when it comes to just purely effective body punching, I have to nod towards Hatton. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of Hatton, I feel like his consistency in terms of landing body shots, and obviously the level of quality opposition that is dropped with body shots, it seems like he was more consistent in landing the shots, and he was also more hurtful to the body than Errol Spence was. Errol Spence has had around less than 30 fights, I believe, but he's probably not been given the time to yet develop more skills on the inside. So Errol Spence, although he is an effective body puncher and he does break his opponents down, it's a lot more subtle with his body work. He's not an out and out body puncher like Hatton is. He likes to break his opponent down from angles and switch to the side. But with Hatton just comes straight at you, but he would switch angles when he was in the inside and he'll maul you, but you sort of knew what you was getting with Hatton, as opposed to obviously Errol Spence, who's a lot more subtle, who can box on the outside but sometimes goes on the inside, who provides relentless pressure, but he also he's a lot more subtle with his body punching in where he places his shots. He may not be as dynamic on the inside as Hatton was, but to counterbalance that, just seeing them both as a whole fighters, I would say that Errol Spence is more of a complete fighter than Hatton was. He can fight more on the outside. Obviously, there were different fighters in the sense that Errol Spence is more of a taller, rangier sort of fighter who'd be more jab orientated. Not saying that Hatton didn't throw jabs, but Hatton seemed to rely more on just consistent pressure, and he did jab his way in from time to time, but his methods were a lot more crude, while Errol Spence seems a lot more scientific in his he's an inside fighter. However, he does have technical abilities where he can fight on the outside as well. So that's just my thoughts on it. So I think in terms of just looking at that one quality, I think Hatton is a better body puncher than Errol Spence. However, Errol Spence has nuances to his game that is a lot more sophisticated than Hatton, and he may go on to accomplish more than Hatton has, just based on what he's accomplished so far in his career. So that's just my thoughts on that. Give me your thoughts below. Obviously like the video if you like the video, and also just subscribe to the channel, and I've got more content coming your way. Thanks for your time. Peace out.